The last time I did one of these, I did one where the Vikings stayed at 11, took J.J. McCarthy, and signed Russell Wilson. Now I'm going to do one where they trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft. So first, some moves to free up some cap space, and this is how much you end up after releasing Alexander Madison, Dean Lowry, Harrison Smith, and hitting Brian O'Neill and T.J. Hawkinson with some restructures. I do see a Justin Jefferson extension getting done. I don't really see any positives unless you're getting a king's ransom for him in return. So I do think that extension will get done. I don't know about Danielle Hunter from what I've been seeing, but the Vikings have the cap space, especially if Kirk's not coming back, to make it do it. You could bring all three back. I don't like that idea, but you can definitely bring both Jefferson and Hunter back for the 2024 season and beyond. And you still have the ability to bring in some guys that were some key contributors last year back on the team as well. Now, here's some external moves that, I think the Vikings should pursue in free agency. The big one being Justin Matabuke. I know I said Chris Williams in the last one of these I made, but Matabuke from Baltimore, he would also be a great addition. And also Tony Pollard. The Vikings rushing attack last year wasn't where it was supposed to be with Alexander Madison and Ty Chandler, even though Chandler did come on late. So they're going to have to look towards free agency or the draft being a bigger risk, even though I do like Jalen Wright out of Tennessee. But Tony Pollard, he's a solid running back overall. He's good at pass blocking. He's a good receiving option as well. And that's a move that you can fix in free agency, and then really you don't have to worry about it, in my opinion, especially with a veteran running back like Pollard. But the Vikings do have a strong case to go after two Miami Dolphins players, Andrew Van Ginkel and Raekwon Davis, both two guys that played under Brian Flores when he was there in Miami. Van Ginkel, he's coming off one of his best years as a pro, and the Vikings, if Danielle Hunter is back, they're going to have to go out and try and solve their other edge rusher position with Marcus Davenport. He could be back, he could not. I know a lot of fans are upset that we didn't get to see much from him last year, and also DJ Wanham is hitting free agency as well. So I said the Vikings are going to trade up in the simulation, and so here's how I have the board falling right now. And if the Giants aren't going to go and select a quarterback, and Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. aren't there, they could be a candidate to trade back, and Brock Bowers as well. But if the Giants are looking to get a quarterback, you can see the Vikings going up as much as 5. But here, let's have them trade with the New York Football Giants. And with the 5th overall pick in the simulation, the Vikings take Drake May. The 2nd round, go with Chris Braswell, edge rusher from Alabama. In the 3rd round, the Vikings don't have a 3rd round pick, but I do like Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky so much. And the Vikings, they do need a number 3 wide receiver. That is one of the sneaky needs that this team needs heading into this offseason. And, some people compare him to Deebo Samuel a little bit, which is, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he pans out in the NFL. But then in the back half of the draft, I just kind of have the team filling out depth, especially in the offensive line and in the linebacker room. So here's what the offense can look like around week 1. Drake May being your QB1. And I don't mind Nick Mullins as a backup quarterback. I think he's one of the better backups in the NFL. The running back position, you have a solid 1-2 punch with Tony Pollard and Ty Chandler. The wide receiver room is going to be dangerous with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, as we saw when those two were together. And Corley, he can add into that mix as well as with Brandon Powell. T.J. Hawkinson is going to miss some part of the year, most likely recovering from his injury against the Lions. But you have Josh Oliver and Johnny Munt. I think they should bring back Johnny Munt because, he's familiar with the offense, familiar with the system. The Vikings need tight end depth. The offensive line is, solid, the starting 5. I think Ed Ingram will take a step forward this upcoming season. You also have 2 good tackles. Dalton Reisner was solid. And Garrett Bradbury, I could have probably replaced him. I'm not the biggest Garrett Bradbury fan. I do think I would be happy if they went after Lloyd Cushenberry this offseason. But then you have depth behind them, that young depth to put behind them and, grow up and develop, and hopefully they can be solid contributors along that line. Defensively, the Vikings defense was 13th in scoring last year, which was a major jump from the previous seasons prior, and that credit goes to Brian Flores, especially with the personnel he had. But I believe if you had a few pieces to this defensive unit, they could take another step forward. And, special teams, Greg Joseph just seems like the perfect Vikings kicker. I don't believe that the Vikings can ever truly fix the position going forward. But yeah, that's what I kind of have to say about that. But also with this, here's the cap space that was remaining. I didn't even account for the rookie class in this, but this can make a case that you could bring Kirk Cousins back with the amount of space that I still had after doing this, which is interesting. It's probably going to be something I do in my 3.0 simulation.